Hi guys, thank you for joining and jumping in. Today's my first YouTube video ever, so welcome to Officially CCTV. Tonight I'm going to be doing a review on Insecure, season 4, episode 5. And this is a pretty good episode. I will have to say that this season has been, in my opinion, starting off slow, but that's generally what happens. And they're giving it to us now. So if you remember at the beginning of the season, we opened up with Issa talking to someone on the phone. We didn't know who it was at the time. We now know it was Nathan. Just basically explaining that she was no longer fucking with Molly, which I was actually glad to see that at some point in time she was going to draw a line in the sand and actually decide to stop dealing with her. And now we jump into this episode explaining why. So the episode opens up with her texting, being up on Instagram, kind of stressing and worrying about the fact that now her main headliner had dropped out, trying to figure out what she was going to do, who she was going to use. And she realized that Nathan was up. He was actually up, on Instagram. He was up. So she inboxed and they start talking. And then they get on the phone and start having a conversation, to which then I assume at some point when she was talking to him, she explained about the headliner and to see if he might be able to help her out. And that's when she introduced us that she just don't fuck with Molly no more. And then we go into what happened. Well, we actually kind of already know what happened if we remember what happened last week. So we just kind of go into the procession after that. So Molly, then we jump to the scene where Molly is with Andrew. They're getting ready to go to the block party. She's complaining. Basically, she doesn't want to go. Surprise, not really. So he basically calls her bluff and is like, fine, let's not go. And then she goes, no, we have to go. We can't not do that. So basically he was like, hush, get dressed and let's go. Doing too much talking. Meanwhile, while they're getting dressed and getting ready for the block party, Issa is actually at the block party. Everything is getting set up. She's kind of stressed because the block party has started and there's not really a lot of people there. They've been 17 minutes into the block party and it's not enough people there, and certainly not enough black people, as she expects. And then she runs into Condola. Now, if we remember, Condola, she had been last week reaching out to Condola, and Condola hadn't been getting back to her. Apparently, Condola and Lawrence had some type of issue, which is what Lawrence was getting ready to explain to Issa last week before she got the phone call that her headliner dropped out. So Issa runs into Condola and is like, hey, what's up? I'm glad you're here. I didn't even think you was going to actually show up. I haven't talked to you. And Condola's acting a little weird. Kind of knows that she, kind of stood her up a little bit and feels a little guilty, but is acting a little weird, and then explains to her that her and Lawrence had broken up, and Issa was completely taken back. She didn't know that had happened. Probably, and to some extent, she's probably a little relieved because I don't think the two of them are over each other. But at the end of the day, that's what happened. Me personally, it was probably hard enough for Issa to even develop a relationship and continue developing anything with Condola after having known that Condola and her ex were together, and having to be the bigger person and put on the bigger face and say, okay, you know what? It is what it is. Y'all do what y'all got to do. I need your help to plan this block party and be successful. Someone pushes to the side. So I think for me, I'd have been more offended about the fact that I pushed this to the side. I don't really have anything to do with you and Lawrence and what happened. I shouldn't have had to suffer and be punished because of it. Like, if you and him stopped talking or something happened, okay, fine. But I should not have had to be infected. And I think I would have had to cuss. I don't think I'd have cussed her out, but she at least got a good piece of my mind. I would have at least explained to her how I felt about the fact that you kind of left me hanging. You've been helping me out with this whole time, and then you kind of just left me hanging. What the hell? What was that all about? But it is what it is. She's there. Condola's there doing what she's got to do. She made sure the assistant was there. She was there to oversee and make sure everything else that she had put into place was there. And they kind of broke away. You don't see them come back together after that. Then Kelly and Tiff show up. Kelly's taking pictures at the, I guess you could say at the red carpet, or at the, I guess that's what you can call it. And what I would like to say about Kelly, I think, and I've been reading a lot of different, interviews and blogs about Kelly. I actually like Kelly a lot, and I really wish that we get to see a little bit more of her character on a regular basis in the show. But the one thing that I wish that they kind of do, especially with her age being 30, I wish that they would kind of let her mature. Like, she has other things going on. She has a career she's pretty successful in. I wish we could kind of see a little bit more of a serious side of Kelly, a little bit more of a mature side, or at least seeing her gradually, you know, kind of mature, maybe go through a couple things. I don't know. But I like seeing her playful and goofy and silly. But at the same time, I kind of wish they'd let her kind of grow, I guess grow up, for lack of a better word, grow up and mature and get into her story a little bit more than they actually do. Because we always see her acting stupid and acting goofy, although she's funny and she definitely keeps my attention. I just wish we were getting a little bit more from her. If you guys picked up on the fact, the subtle hints, the subtle innuendos that are being dropped with Tiffany. Tiffany's just had a baby. So every time they ask her about the baby, she's kind of, I wouldn't say throwing digs, but she's kind of complaining a little bit about the fact that she has a baby. And if she's, what I think they're trying to do is give us a warm intro into that type of a reality. Because every time you see somebody that has a baby, they always are so excited about the baby. You know, you might hear that they're tired or it's a big adjustment, but they're so excited. They can't wait to get away from the kid. But it's sometimes realistic that a lot of times it's hard to adjust to being a new mom, especially when you're young and you're not used to having to care for somebody else. And I like the fact that they're kind of giving us a little bit of tiff, basically saying, look, this thing is not as cracked up as I thought it was going to be. And I miss, kind of being young and being carefree and not having to worry about the baby. It's a lot. So I think they're kind of warming us up into an issue that does exactly happen. I mean, when I had my kid, well, not my youngest, but when I had my oldest, it was a hard adjustment for me as well. It was not all beautiful. It was a very big adjustment for me as a person, as a woman, and transitioning from being a young girl in the mind to a mother. It was hard. It was hard, and it was definitely not all bubbles and sunshine and rainbows. There was some times where I really wondered if I had what it took to be a mother, and I got past it. I adjusted so well that 4 years later I had another kid. But I like that they're kind of taking it in this direction, and they're going in this way where it's not always have a baby and everything is rainbows and sunshine. Sometimes it's struggles. There's postpartum. There's a lot of things that can come into this. And I like that they're kind of dropping that and making this warm intro that I hope that they kind of dig a little bit further into with Tiff. But other than that, that was Tiff. They all took pictures together. And then Kelly's guy, I don't even know how this started, but Kelly's guy comes and she starts talking in this British accent, which had me completely tickled, because I don't really understand why she's doing it with this guy. I don't know why the British accent is a thing, but it just had me so tickled because she was really working the accent and had me cracking up. Even more so when they got to the part where Issa's brother, who for some reason, they have some type of banter, and I actually love it, that they have between the two of each other. When he showed up, so where her and the guy were when they were having the drinks, and he started asking her questions and trying to stump her and trying to basically embarrass her in front of this guy so that he could know that she's not actually British. It just tickled me so much, especially when he asked her about, I can't remember what it was, Brasket or something like that. And she didn't have the answer to it. And then she was talking to him about the government. And he was basically saying there's the presidential and then there's the Bank of America. They kind of run everything. It was just so funny. That whole situation was hilarious to me. It was absolutely funny. So Issa and Molly, at some particular point, the first time they meet up, and it's kind of awkward, but then Issa goes off to do what she needs to do. And then so she goes off to do what she needs to do. And then we get to Molly and Andrew sitting at the couch, just kind of sitting around watching and seeing what's going on. I think this is the moment that she's sitting back and taking everything in and realizing, wow, Issa pulled all of this together. This is really great, because I don't think Molly, if you remember back into the prior season, Molly wasn't really supportive of her. Every time Issa had ideas or anything, they started talking about the block party, Molly always had some little dig she was taking or something cynical she had to say. So I think she was just kind of taken aback about the fact that Issa did so well with the block party. Everything was going so smooth. And Andrew was kind of trying to say, look, relax. Maybe this is why, you've been saying that you and Issa are having some issues. Maybe this was why. This is a big thing that she did. And she probably was so focused on this that she probably was missing, it was probably awkward because she was so busy. And then he reminded her, just like with you always working. You always busy with work, right? But we are making it, right? So give her the benefit of the doubt. Molly says, you know what? Maybe that is the case. So Nathan shows up, and he actually comes to check in and support her, and just kind of relaxes her and tells her to just, Issa, by the way, her is Issa, to kind of relax and just take in everything and enjoy the moment. She's pulled this off. It's a great event. It's successful. People are there. Music is going. Vendors are there. Everything is running pretty smooth, even though she is nervous that the headliner that she replaced her first one with, which was, I believe she replaced Schoolboy Q with, he wasn't there as of yet, so she was kind of nervous that he wasn't going to show up. But Nathan was like, look, I took care of it. We're good. Just relax. Enjoy the moment. Everything's going to work out fine. And he was right. It did. Issa's, so then we flash to Issa kind of sitting and getting a little quiet time for herself. Molly shows up with some food and is trying to break the awkwardness and have a conversation with her, which, as far as I'm concerned, this was not the time to do, because Issa is running the show, and there's going to be moments where she might have some downtime and she can't really talk for long because she got to zip off and go take care of something else or go manage something. So I thought it was a nice gesture that Molly was doing. I just really thought it was the wrong time, and common sense would say it probably wasn't the right time to try to do everything that she was trying to do, to have a conversation with her and try to smooth things. It just wasn't the right time. Like, let's go to lunch or something once this is done. Let's just do that. This is not the right time to be trying to do all of that. While Issa and Molly are talking, her assistant comes and Issa has to go away because the headliner is there, which makes Issa so extremely happy. That was the one thing she was worried, one of the things that she was worried the most about. Headliner's there, so she has to go to the VIP to confirm and talk to the headliner, welcome them, make sure that they're happy. For some reason, the assistant's nose starts bleeding, which I thought was gross, and I would have sat there and looked at her crazy too, like, your nose is bleeding, and we don't even know why or what the hell happened. But she takes care of it. The headliner is good. They walk off. She then runs into the guy, and I never know what his name is, but he's the guy that's in the gang in California, and he can't say, I think he can't say C. He can't say C. I think he's a blood, so he can't say anything that starts with the letter C because that represents the Crips. And he pretty much stands there. Issa and him reunite. They laugh, and then for some reason he starts saying that he knows people in the VIP, and then he starts making up names, but everybody's name starts with a B. And Issa know he lying, and she says, "Are you just making that up?" And he just kind of looked at her like, "Yeah, I did." He don't really know nobody in VIP. How he got back there, we never know. But that dude just tickles me. He cracks me up, and it was good to see him come back into the show for that scene. So everybody, you know, now that everything's getting going, they're getting to the latter part of the actual block party. Everybody's there. It's a packed event. They start playing doing the wobble. The wobble comes on. Everybody, including Issa gets on, you know, comes out, starts doing the dance. Everybody dancing, have a good time. At first, Issa sees Molly, and they just kind of like, you know, but they do their little dance. And every time they look back at each other, they kind of give each other little crazy looks until they eventually get around each other, and they just start dancing, and they have a moment where they just have, for a moment, just some good old-fashioned fun, dancing around, acting silly. And it almost feels like good times. And it almost, for that moment, feels like they don't have any beef, like everything is good. Until, once again, Issa gets called away to go to the stage to more or less introduce the headliner. She gets up there to start giving her speech, and then everybody in the crowd starts to. And this has happened before in concerts. I've gone to concerts where the person who organized, like the promoter or whoever organized the concert, comes out, and they're trying to give a little speech, or they're trying to thank people who helped, you know, put the event together. And I've been there when other people have started cheering for the headliner. Like, yeah, we don't want to hear all of that. We could read that on a bulletin or something later. Bring out the headliner. So Issa's like, fuck it. I'm not about to do this with y'all. Let's bring him out. And he comes out, and they have a really good time. Everybody is dancing, and the music is good. Everybody has a really good time. So towards the end, the manager of the headliner comes up to Andrew while he's with Molly and more or less thanks him for connecting with them, and, you know, more or less kind of thanks him for everything that he does, which throws Molly off because Molly's a little confused as to what Andrew could have possibly done for the manager to be thanking him. So that's when Andrew decides to say, yeah, Issa, Nathan came to me and asked me if I could go ahead and put in a good word, and that's what I did to help her out. And then he goes, I didn't really think that there was anything wrong. I was trying to help your friend out. I wasn't trying to do anything, shady or anything like that. I was just trying to look out for your best friend, which then creates fury in Molly, and she's upset because Molly now feels like Issa, after having had a conversation last week where she was explaining, look, I don't really want to go to Andrew because last week Issa originally asked Molly to talk to Andrew and see if he might be able to help pull some strings to replace her headliner. And Molly just didn't feel like being bothered. And I'm going to say this. I don't like Molly or Issa, to be frankly honest. I think Molly is super negative, and I think that Issa is super irresponsible. And I really honestly don't even know if that's really the issue that I have with Issa, but both of them I see are growing apart from each other. So I've been in this situation before. I think most people have been in situations before where you have someone, be it a man or a really good friend, where you just grow apart. I think that they have started having issues with each other, steering all the way back to last season when they got into the argument before, when they were going away for Kelly's birthday, and they got into that huge argument before they got to the birthday party where they basically just called each other out on their flaws. When Issa was more or less telling Molly that she does need to go seek some therapy. It wouldn't hurt her at all because she's got issues. She's super negative and she needs to know why. So back when they fell out that time, I don't think that the issues got resolved. I think that that was just where everything got started with the two of them. So it did not shock me to see them blow up on each other at this particular event. Now, I think Molly could have held that in and waited until after the event was done. So Issa could have at least closed the event out, felt good about it, and maybe the next day called her and went off on her. But so I don't feel like Issa betrayed Molly. I don't necessarily even think that I don't think that she betrayed her. What I do think that Issa did was get the job done. Like, I have to get a headliner, and I don't have time to, if you're not going to help me out, then I got to go figure out how to get this done. And I think that's the perspective that Issa was taking it from. Keep in mind, Nathan and Issa are still cool as well. And it just so happens that Nathan and Andrew are roommates and really good friends. So whether or not Molly and Andrew was together, she still was going to be able to use that connection to get to what she wanted. So I don't feel like she did anything to betray Molly. She just kind of went behind Molly back and got it done. Like, okay, well, if you're not about to help me, I'm going to go figure out how to get this done. But we're going to get a headliner and we're going to get a good one. So I don't really understand why Molly is upset. As far as feeling like somebody betrayed her and she just kind of went and stepped over boundaries. I don't get that. Again, I just think Issa needed to do what she needed to do to get the job done, period. And she did what she had to do. It did not affect Molly, and it just is what it is. But at the same time, I understand Molly's perspective in terms of why I did not want to help you, because I didn't necessarily want to stick my neck out here and support you and then you mess this up, because Issa does have a really bad habit of being flip-floppy and not getting things done and not staying committed to stuff. And I can understand why Molly might not have wanted to get her, her relationship involved, because if something didn't happen and something went awry, now she got to deal with it from her due. I mean, I guess I can totally understand it from that perspective. But I personally think that the two of them are just at a crossroads with their friendship. And I feel like that situation is small beans compared to what's really going on with the two of them. And I think at the end of the day, they're growing apart from each other. And I think that, in essence, if you want to dig a little deeper, I think Molly's used to being the dominant one in the relationship, the responsible one, the one that's got stuff going on. And Issa's usually the fuck up. She's usually the fuck up. And now that is kind of shifting a little bit, it seems, where Issa is not really being a fuck up. Like, she's got something, she's stuck to it, it was successful, she's trying to do something. And that, I think, intimidates or bothers Molly to some extent. You're always going to have somebody, it seems like, you always have to have somebody around that loves being friends with somebody when they're down, but God forbid when they start getting up and doing something and then maybe even surpassing them and having a little bit more, that becomes a problem. And that seems to be the issue, I think, with Molly and Issa. There's a shift in the relationship and Molly is not happy with it. And like I think there's that argument they had is small potatoes compared to what the really big issue is. So we will see next week. I usually don't like to see friendships end on TV shows, and you're going to start seeing that a little bit more as you see me do reviews on other things. But I think with Molly and Issa, I think I'm in full support of this relationship ending. I am in full support of Lawrence and Issa getting back together. I did figure that out because earlier I wasn't 100% certain what I wanted with the two of them, but I do think I kind of root for them to get back together. But I also root for Molly and Issa to maybe, I don't know if maybe end the friendship, but more or less take a little break and kind of have some separation time from each other to figure out if they are just going through a change or if the friendship is over. I am very glad the two of them did not fight like they were getting ready to. I'm really glad that they did not do that, one, because they were best friends. And for me too, I don't care best friend or not. The minute you put your hands on me, I don't care what issue we're having. The minute you put your hands on me, there is no reconciliation necessary. We're not reconciling. So I'm glad to see that they did not get into a physical altercation. I'm glad that somebody ruined it by screaming out somebody had a gun or what you pulling out your pocket and everybody ran off. I'm glad that that actually happened. And we'll see what's going to happen next week. I don't know. Kind of, like I said, I'm kind of rooting for them to kind of have some separation time. Maybe it's some time that they need to take away from each other to really reevaluate whether or not they want to continue being friends or not. And I think that's really what is going on. There's growing apart. And I also think that Molly is just not used to being in a position where Issa might be coming right up behind her and getting herself together and trying not to be so much of a mess that Molly counts on her to be. That's my take and my opinion on Insecure Season 4, Episode 5. I will be back next week to talk about next week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to my first YouTube video. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Tell your friends about it. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. What might I have overlooked? What other things that I may not have, paid attention to or commented on? Let me know in the comments. And I hope you guys have a good evening. Talk to you later.